I'm hearing that you really tapped into perhaps the healing power of voice and how that really helps then to reshape and redevelop even a person from the inside out.
For me, it sounds like you're describing communication as being more than just words, but like it's connecting as a bridge sort of with that external and that internal of us.
When we speak from the heart, we're being absolutely true to ourselves. It's our truth as we know it. I don't love the term like when people say to them, well, that's my truth.
You really are helping people to actually grow their own awareness, teaching them how to kind of step back, observe, and actually see more.
So one of the very interesting things also in psychology is the spotlight effect. Everybody is their own central character.
Welcome, everyone, to the Healing You Method podcast. I'm Gail Donahue, and I'm here with my dear friend and co-host, Gloria Lybecker. We're so glad that you're here with us today.
It's so good to be here with you. And we're going to explore the many ways that healing unfolds through presence, compassion, and connection within ourselves and in relationship with others.
Today, we're honored to welcome a truly special guest, Yarona Boster. And both of us have worked with Yarona, and she's just an amazing person. Yarona is a certified speaker coach, a communications master, a TEDx speaker, two-time best-selling author, and host of the Evolution of Parenting podcast.
Yarona helps people find their authentic voice, whether it's on a stage, in leadership, or in everyday life. And what makes her work so powerful is how she weaves together deep personal experience with practical wisdom, helping others transform silence into strength and pain into purpose.
And Yarona, your journey is such a beautiful example of resilience and transformation. Could you share with us what first drew you to the work of helping others find and express their voice?
I think I've always had a little bit of that intrinsic quality. I would say when I was a little kid, my mom used to say the funniest thing. Everybody would be arguing. And my sister, she just didn't want to argue. Like I would just jump right into the argument. My other sister would jump right into the argument. But my middle sister, she would get really quiet. And I would speak up for her. And my mom used to call me my sister's little lawyer. And I think that sort of shaped a lot about the way that I see the world. I've always felt that if we aren't actually speaking up for ourselves, if we're not actually speaking to help people better understand us, then we're doing ourselves a disservice because we're taking away the opportunity to create better and stronger connections. And I think that's always been just an intrinsic part of who I am. That said, it took me a long time to get here, logistically speaking and experientially. I went through a lot of changes in my life, did a lot of searching for myself along the way while I was schooling and all those types of things. Ran away from some of the things that I was trying to accomplish because I was like, it's too much, it's too overwhelming. I'm going to go over here and do this instead. Became a veterinary technician for a little while. You know, but one of the things that's always been a big part of who I am is helping people. It's just a part of my intrinsic nature. And I was like, okay, how do I help people? How do I help people? It's always been my drive. Where can I help people? Where can I help people? So for many, many years, I looked for what I could do to help others. How could I be of service? How could I be of help? And it ended up taking the form of working in the early childhood field. And human development is so fascinating to me. It's always been really fascinating to me. So I started going into that area and psychology and all of these things. And how does it shape the way we show up in the world?
Yeah.
And as I was going through all of this professionally, I was also experiencing a lot of things personally. was experiencing a lot of death, a lot of disability in my life, a lot of loss from so many avenues. And I realized these things aren't separate. The way we develop as a human, it's not, we can't separate what we do professionally from what we live personally. They are, in fact, one and the same. And I took that and realized that a lot of times the way we communicate is the only thing that helps other people see who we truly are
Yeah.
and experience us. In fact, I call it the behavior by which they get to know all these other attributes of who we are. Because the rest of our world is lived internally. When you think about it, right? Our thoughts, our ideas, our beliefs, our emotions. These are all these really important critical pieces that make up a human, as well as that thing that some people might call the soul or the essence or that core of who we are. But there's only one little tiny piece that other people get to experience. And that is through the behavior of our communication is when we get to tell and share all the rest of those pieces together. So as I started to develop that thought process, I was like, okay, well, from what I know, communication is a learned behavioral trait. Any learned behavioral trait, any learned behavioral, or I shouldn't even call it a trait, but any learned behavioral skill can be modified. It can be practiced. It can be improved upon if we want to. And that took me off into a whole nother area of what I do now.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. So, really, as you look at your own life and your own life story, and those moments where you had the silence and the loss, and kind of rediscovering your own self, I'm hearing that you really tapped into perhaps the healing power of voice, and how that really helps then to reshape and redevelop even a person from the inside out.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, communication isn't just an external behavior, it's an internal behavior as well. How we
Mhm.
speak to ourselves matters greatly.
Oh, so,
It,
so yeah.
and how we choose to see the experiences we've had, how we choose to gain perspective on it. There's a thing called in psychology called cognitive reframing.
Mhm.
So when something happens, an experience we have, right? We can choose how we want to actually see that experience, how we want to view that experience, and what we want to take away from that experience. But a lot of people don't see that. They say, oh, I just got into a car accident. Oh my God. You know, and all they can see is the trouble, the problem, the issue, oh, this is going to be a huge problem for me. Oh, this is going to cause so many issues, da 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 da. And we get stuck in that loop of focusing on the the impact that's going to be create the worst possible outcome for us.
Mhm.
But what we could do is say, um, this is really awful because we don't want to ignore the fact of the reality of it. Yes, this is you got into a car accident. It is realistically it's a problem. Yes. Yes. And what does it have to teach me? Was it perhaps that I was being not so diligent in my driving? Was it perhaps that, what does it have to teach me? What can I learn from this? What are some other possibilities? Maybe I needed this today because I've been rushing, rushing, rushing like a crazy person, and this is giving me a moment to just stop and go, okay, let me just deal with this instead of trying to deal with the 10,000 other things going on in my life. And that's cognitive reframing.
Yeah. So I love that example that you just gave to us, Yorona, and it for me it sounds like you're describing communication as being more than just words, but like it's connecting as a bridge, sort of with that external and that internal of us, and having that authentic connection. And often Gloria and I talk about speaking from the heart. And so
Mhm.
is it that connection for you? Is it like speaking from the heart? And what Can you tell us a bit, what does it mean for you when you do
Uh,
speak from the heart?
When we speak from the heart, we're being absolutely true to ourselves. It's 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 our truth as we know it. I don't love the term like when people say to them, "Well, that's my truth." Truth is the shape of a perspective, of multitude perspectives that you have from past experience. So just because this is truth for you doesn't necessarily mean it's truth for somebody else. But when we speak from the heart, what is true for us, we're really putting out there what other people very likely have been through, have have experienced in some way or another. It may not be the exact same experience, but very similar, and we're creating something that is core to our human needs, which is connection. So when we're actually sharing that what is true to us, what is authentic to us, we are creating real connection, not trying to foster something for a reciprocal exchange, or transactional moment, but rather for the reality of the fact that we are a communal species means we need community. We need other people. We need other people to still be our autonomous selves. We have a very interesting, we are a very interesting species. We are autonomous, and yet we are also communal. So there's this very interesting dynamic. We need community and we want to be autonomous. So it's a very interesting shape. But when we share from our hearts, we can create space for both to be possible. We can stay autonomous and true to ourselves, and we can be a part of a greater whole. And I
Yeah.
think that's really what sharing from our heart actually means, that we
Mm,
get to be a greater part of something. Because if we're not sharing from our heart, if we're trying to obfuscate, or we're trying to be put on something that we're not, or be false, or be untrue to ourselves, we're never going to feel like we're a part of that whole, because
Yeah.
we can't even feel like we're a part of ourselves.
mm,
Yeah. So for our listeners, there are people that they may struggle to express themselves, authentically,
Yes.
openly, maybe out of fear, maybe they've had past trauma, or they just have this habit of like staying small. So what are some first gentle steps that you support people to begin to reclaim their voice?
Oh, we
mhm,
dive deep. It's really funny. I just had a comment from somebody the other day of like, "Oh, so now you're only a speaker coach?" I said, "No, I'm still a life coach. I still do my I do it together. That's why I call myself a communications coach, because it's a functionality of both of those things. When I support speakers, when I support people who want to share their voice but don't know where to go and how to start, the first place is with one person. And that person has to be someone who's there without judgment and fully there to support you in
mm,
sharing what it is that has shaped your life. I think one of the hardest things people can do is go to people that they value, but who don't know what it means to support. They only know what it means to give advice.
Yeah.
Support is different than advice. So the best thing you can do, the first step you can do, is say, I need to share this. Where can I go to share this where I can feel secure that the space that's been created for me is a secure, non-judgmental, open space where I can just simply breathe out my message, breathe out my voice. So that is the very first step people have to take, is to know who to go to, who they can trust to go to, who will help them cultivate that, bring that out of them, pull that from them. Because a lot of times people are like, I have so much I want to say, and I don't know where to begin. And one of
mm,
the things I will say is, and I'm going to say something here, I will say, just verbally vomit it at me. Just go for it. It's
mm,
okay, because it's not about making it a pretty picture to start with. It's about getting it all out of you, and then looking at what you can clean up, you can refine, and how and where to do that. Because if
mm.
you can't first get it out of you, if you want to censor what's coming out, it's never going to be authentically you,
Yeah.
because you're going to be more concerned about somebody else's opinion than what's really going on inside.
Mm.
Yeah, that's yeah, so interesting. So when I think about myself and others that I've worked with clients, that vulnerability is you know, can be so raw and tender. And you've spoken openly about how loss shaped who you are and how you live, including your TEDx talk. And so connecting with what you were just speaking about with, you know, finding someone that you feel safe to talk to that will be there to receive you and accompany you. What did that experience that you had, what did it teach you about vulnerability and courage?
Vulnerability is courage in action.
Mm,
Mm.
Being vulnerable with other people is you taking the courageous step, because it's not about having a lack of fear. It's acknowledging that the fear is still there and being willing to step over the fear and move forward, even when it's still going to be in tow. The fear is always going to be there. But I think what's so vital is to find a space that people can actually expect that vulnerability, accept that vulnerability, and
mm,
allow it to have space to breathe. Because if you think that you're the only person who's ever been vulnerable to your experiences or your thought process or your emotions, you're sorely mistaken. We are all vulnerable to something. It's not insecurity. I think there's something to vulnerability that it's sharing sharing something with other people that puts us in the potential position of being judged, but sharing it anyway.
Mhm.
mm, yeah.
And when you're not judged and someone in fact responds back and says, I know how that feels, I've been there too, you're creating an instantaneous amount of connection. And it's so beautiful.
Mhm.
It's so necessary. It's so vital to, like I said, being a human, being an autonomous yet communal species. It's
Mm,
so vital.
Yeah, that's kind of brings us to another point here about how you've taken your pain and like even from the beginning of sharing your story, you've taken your pain and turned it into your purpose. And
mm,
so, how do you support other people to actually do this, what you're talking about, to move through their pain, to find their meaning on the other side of that?
Right. Well, a really big part is asking yourself what lessons you've learned.
Mm.
You can't, here's something really interesting. Um, any given emotion only lasts 90 seconds physiologically in our body. 90 seconds, that's it. If we're feeling anger, it lasts for 90 seconds. It's the stories we tell ourselves that re-trigger the chemical response.
Yeah.
So when we actually look at the story and we ask ourselves, well, what other piece could I learn from this story?
Mm.
What's something else I could understand, I could take away from here?